Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us so much today. My name's Sean, and we have a very interesting turn of events that's happened because now this podcast is called ReImagine. But Kylie, if we're reimagining, who did we used to be?
Yes, so we did used to be Wildfire Tribe, and we are now relaunching from this week with a whole new beautiful conversation that we are inviting you into.
ReImagine, so imagine all the people. That was the John Lennon song. Imagine all the people. But we're reimagining. We're reimagining. We're reimagining a future that is different. We used to be Wildfire Tribe, and now we're ReImagine. Why would we do that, Kylie? Why would we establish a podcast name, a clothing brand, all of those things that are under the name Wildfire Tribe, and then just change it to ReImagine?
I think we're wanting to take it up another level. We're wanting to create a broader listening space. We want to make it more inclusive and just have some wider, bigger conversations encompassing life and spirituality and just getting a little bit more real. So I think we've just had a beautiful year and a half now of being Wildfire Tribe and just having amazing conversations with you guys. And we're really wanting it to grow into a space that we feel like needs a change.
We've felt this coming for a while. We've felt like there is a change ahead for us. So as we've been doing the Wildfire Tribe podcast and been enjoying it and being thoroughly overwhelmed with the amount of people that have tuned in and found us and that are joining in the conversation and enjoying the podcast and sharing it with their friends, we've also felt like we were coming to a point in time where things needed to change. And so, as is usual in our world, being a married couple of 30 years, having spent 30 years together, there's been many times where we've just drawn a line and just changed careers, changed towns, changed what it is that we're doing right now. And everything has changed for us as well right now from Wildfire Tribe into ReImagine. And it's also a very, very good time for you to consider that anything that you imagine to be possible is possible.
Is possible. And I think that's part of the ReImagine is that all things are possible. And that every time that we feel like we come up against some kind of a wall or a blockage or something that doesn't seem to make sense, then we would encourage you to reimagine.
Reimagine that the belief structure that you've grown up in, that you've learnt off by heart, that you've never challenged your thinking in, could possibly be no longer in your future, that everything can change, that you can completely drop the career that you are pursuing and reimagine something completely new, that your business that you've been trying to sell for a long time that won't seem to sell, that you can reimagine a new way to sell it or a new start to your life without even selling it. It's a time for new beginnings, a time to reimagine.
It's like that song that you were just singing before, John Lennon's song, Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will live as one.
Yeah, I was thinking about that only just earlier as we were riding here to where we're recording the podcast. We're sitting on top of an old boat shed looking at a glorious winter's day in northern New South Wales, Australia, at the diamond lights shining off the water that, strangely enough or not so strangely, are just delivered right to exactly right in front of us where we're sitting. And I was thinking about when we were riding here about people that call you dreamers, people that say to you, you know, you've got to live in the reality of this world, you've got to stop dreaming. And I just do not. I refuse to walk in the reality of that. I refuse to walk in what we're told is the reality of the world, that there's certain things that we have to do, there's certain ways that we have to navigate life that's just the pattern of the way that it's always been done, because we just don't fit very well in those boxes, and I'm completely fine with that. So I'm daring to imagine that the dreams that I have that maybe I haven't even shared with everybody. Maybe I haven't shared it with you, and I haven't even shared it with you, Kylie, but those desires of your heart that we speak about occasionally too, that those dreams that I have that are the desires of my heart are actually possible.
Absolutely. I think when we were reimagining this podcast and we were sitting in the fullness of who we are and just engaging with all of the places out there, the infinite realms of the kingdom, as we were going, okay, what is this going to look like? And one of the pictures that you had was this super dome of imagination that was filled with slides and overpasses and matchbox car trucks and roller coasters and all of these different things spinning around and around and around and upside down. It was this place of infinite wonder and adventure and fullness and vibrancy and unexpectedness. You know, when you're riding a roller coaster, it's that feeling of like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen when we get to the top? And then your world turns upside down in a moment. And it's that place that we often find ourselves in everyday life, and we're wanting to really dive deep into the realness of what that looks like, sharing another layer of the realness of our lives as we reimagine the possibilities of the future too together.
So how did we come up with the name, Kylie? How did we decide that, okay, we've come to a point where we're changing direction slightly, we're expanding into a bigger space where there's more likelihood that more people will also engage with our podcast, etc. How did we, do we just sit down and write down 3 names each and then put them in a hat and draw them out? We've done that before with band names. Can we explain to the people listening right now how it is that we make those quite crucial decisions in our life?
I think we've been working toward this moment for quite some time. Like, as you said before, it's been a couple of months where we've known that we're moving toward this. We're going to be changing, and part of that was changing the name of our podcast. And I think we just knew that we wanted it to be something that wasn't just coming out of a good idea, or it wasn't making a good business sense as such, but it was actually like part of our blueprint, part of the heavenly writings upon our scroll, that we wanted to engage with what that could potentially look like opening up. So yeah, I had some ideas about what that might have been, and I'm sure you had some ideas as well, but we just put all of that aside and we came down by the river right to this spot actually that we're sitting in today, with the reflections of diamonds on the water. And it's beautiful. Right when we landed here today, there's just this pool of sparkles that are coming right down to our feet. And we sat here and engaged, or sat in the multidimensional realms of the kingdom, which is these spaces that we're engaging with that is beyond the reality of our circumstances and the 3D life that we live, but it's actually engaging in the fullness of all of the realms that are possible for us to walk within. And you just started speaking, and it was quite powerful, and you were releasing all these amazing concepts and thoughts. And I just I wrote down a whole bunch of what you were saying, because I was just feeling like, wow, you were really tapped into profound flow. And you kept on saying things like reimagine that all things are possible, reimagine new perspectives, reimagine that what you see ahead is not the only way. And you continue to reimagine. All of these gold was just flowing out of you. And as I penned it, and then we jumped on our bike afterwards, and I just said to you, I just feel like we need to call the podcast ReImagine. And you looked at me and you were like, yep, I was waiting for that. And we were both in sync in that agreement, weren't we? We just went, oh my gosh, that's it.
Yeah, that was the realisation that I'd come to as well during our time of navigating the heavens and looking for answers for our next. That word had also come to me. If you've watched the Joe Rogan podcast, there's a neon sign that's behind Joe Rogan with his name on it. And I kept on seeing the word imagine just like that neon sign, but with a little RE just above it to the left, so that I could see that sign that was ReImagine. So I knew that it had some importance. I knew that it meant something for us moving forward. And I suspected that that was going to be the new name of our podcast. But I also like to just wait and see what it is that you have to say. It's kind of like a confirmation, where it's not like I just come up with the answers for everything, but we come up with the answers together in agreement.
Yeah, I so agree. You were saying, like you said, in the midst of all of the re's, you were saying that in the beginning that you were there with him creating in the beginning, and because of that you know that there isn't only one way. And I think that, you know, keeping in that space of the reimagine, like as you were releasing all of those ideas and everything, there's so many ways. And I think the beauty of the power that we have to choose our reality, to choose the pathway that we're walking on, to be in the fullness of whatever it is that we are attracting toward ourselves. You said reimagine that there is no destination, that the destination is unknown. And I felt like, wow, you know, like there's infinite possibilities in the reimagine, because we've spoken about the re a lot over the months, that the prefix re is again and again and again. And imagine is really framing up a whole new reality. It's co-creating in the multidimensional realms of life.
And it's perfectly fine to imagine, to use your imagination to picture something different, but you don't even need to limit yourself to just imagining, because we get to reimagine. We get to do it again and again and again.
And this is for everyone. This isn't just for some people. This is for whosoever chooses to be in the space of imagining.
Realign. Refresh. Return.
Return.
You
Return
don't just
to the
get
beginning.
to turn once. You get to return.
Yeah, come on.
You get to be renewed. Reimagine that there is no finish line.
Exactly.
That you're moving towards this place where everything falls into place or feels like it's done, but that there is no finish line at all.
I love it.
That you're constantly on the adventure of life, knowing that there is no end.
There is no end.
And that you get all of the time in the world to reimagine a new way, to be refreshed, to be renewed, to return into something that you dreamed was possible but you'd put aside. Imagine that all things are possible.
I love it. I have a quote to start off the new season, and it's a quote by a wise man called Sean Henderson. And he says, less control, more play. Reimagine that your past hasn't created limitations. Creation is open and waiting.
Replay.
Replay.
Play again.
Yeah, let's play again and again.
Let's roll the dice again. Let's replay the same game.
Yeah.
Let's replay a new game. Let's replay a different game.
You get to create. We are a sparkle of light.
Recreate.
Recreate. You also had this beautiful picture when we were framing up this reimagine of wheels, fireworks that were spinning in this dream, in this place of multi-dimensional reality. Like there was no one path, there was no one track, there was no limitations, there was just freedom. And I think that's the other thing that we're really wanting to continue to have as part of our reimagining, is reimagining a space with more freedom, reimagining that place of the limitations coming off that restrict us as we walk in our lives, that place of expanded thinking that takes us into the fullness of what is, what can be, what is, what can be, what is.
I love it that you're reading out of your book words that I have spoken that you're now using as quotes. It's quite funny. And
And
as you're quoting me, you're also not quoting me because I don't remember saying them. It's that flow state. It's that flow state of when you're functioning as if heaven is already on earth, that words just flow out of you that you're not creating, that you're not structuring language around, but they're just flowing from you. And it's interesting to hear what it is that you say that gets recorded, that gets played back to you that you don't recall saying. It's not a state of concern for me to wonder why it is that I can't remember the things that I've said, because it's like I never said them anyway. It's like you're a channel for heaven to be on earth. I know that leading up to us rebranding, renaming this podcast, there was times where I wondered what was ahead. I wondered where this was going. I wondered why it is that the 70 or so podcasts that we've done up until now have brought us to a point, and I wondered whether that was going to expand into more of the world and more people's ears and more people's visuals as well, now that we sometimes do it on video as well. But I have to admit as well that in the grind of doing activities such as podcasts or artworks or any of the other activities we're involved in, that sometimes it feels difficult. Sometimes it feels like you're just going around and around and around trying to get a different result by doing the same thing. And sometimes when that's all that you're focused on, when that's all that you're doing and you're not getting anywhere, it feels really, really difficult. And it's those times where all we have to do, where all I have to do is remember that we're supposed to be bringing heaven to earth. We're supposed to be existing on this earth plane in our bodies, but with a touch of heaven open in us at all times. And when you function on this earthly plane, remembering that you're actually in heaven at the same time, everything changes. Everything feels easier. Everything feels like there is no finish line. Everything feels like there's no pressure. There's nowhere near as much stress. Stress doesn't exist at all in heaven. Just think about heaven and what it is that you picture it to be. In the olden days, Kylie, do you remember in church growing up in those environments where you were always told that heaven is a destination after you die?
yeah,
When you picture what that looks like after you die, those heavenly spaces, there's no dramas, there's no stress, there's no worrying, there's no wondering about anything going wrong at all in that heavenly space. But that's available to us right now. That's not a destination or a line that we have to cross to die to get to that place where everything's okay. That makes death the winner. That makes death the finish line. That makes death the destination that we're aspiring to be.
exactly.
Death is not our destination. Heaven is, and heaven is available right here and right now, from now for eternity.
You also said the other day, reimagine that everything is for you, not against you. And you were talking about riding your bike and that rain and wind were attracted to you. They wanted to partner with you. They want to be a part of you. And you were talking about wind that brings change, the winds of change.
Everything is attracted to us. Everything.
It's like this glorious sparkle on the water that is just powering toward us. It's like these waves are coming through the middle of it and they're just coming right to where we are, like right where my feet are at the end of this. It's just hitting, the sparkles are just hitting me. It's like so, so special.
Because everything is attracted to people that are walking in the realization that they are sons and daughters of their Creator. There are just things that you get to say no to that are attracted to you, and you just get to say yes to the other things that you choose. It's not like you have to pursue anything in particular to go and get it, because it's all coming to you.
Yeah, exactly. And we get to choose. You were saying the other day, you get to choose. The wind and the rain is always wanting to be a part of your existence. It wants to bless you. It loves to be seen. Everything is aware of its creator and everything responds to the creator within us. That's pretty powerful. I remember thinking after you were saying that, I was thinking about a heightened response, that ability to realize that it's actually not a soloist song. It's not just the creator singing and us not doing anything. Like it's not, it's this beautiful duo, it's this beautiful choir, it's a symphony across the earth where we're each responding with our part, our song, our sound. It's like we didn't actually realize that we had a piece that needs to be sung back, that needs to be released, that our little piece is part of this collective sound across the earth that is resonating and opening up and bringing freedom. It's that place where we're reimagining together. And it comes back to that song, like with John Lennon's song, where he says, imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
No, he's not the only one, because we're imagining that that's possible as well. Can you imagine that people didn't go to war?
Yeah, I can imagine it.
Can you imagine that young men and women, out of duty to their nations, didn't put weapons on their back and go into other countries and fight for what it is that their leaders are telling them to fight for? Imagine if there was a time coming in our future where that didn't exist at all.
And that's the power of reimagining. That's the collective power that we have together where we can frame up a beautiful world. And we can do it without the ways that we have been conditioned to believe that freedom is attained, that we can actually co-create a space that is filled with the frequency of love, that is filled with the frequency of peace, that is vibrating in a higher dimensional reality. And I know it's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense in the current circumstances of so many things that are happening in our world. But if it doesn't start with each one of us in our own individual power, then that actually is where it starts. That's where it starts. We each need to stand in that place of releasing the fullness of who we are, being our unique expression, reimagining our own little tiny piece of the co-creation journey for everything to come into the fullness of what it has always been created to be.
So when you're imagining what it is that you desire for your future and it doesn't happen for 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, I've found myself in those times finding it very difficult to stay focused that it's possible. I've found myself veering off into wondering why the things that I desire are not for me in this lifetime. But I'd have to say that over time, the more I just stay focused on that dream that I have, the more we seem to just be stepping into those dreams. There's very little that I've ever desired in this lifetime that I don't now have, or that I haven't had at some stage. I've had a very fortunate existence of being able to imagine my future and then having it delivered to me.
I love it. And that dreaming, it's like how you were talking about the other day, the law of attraction, the algorithm, the different frequencies that, and the beings that we partner with. Like there is no separation. Like all of these entities are beings that we can be inside of. We're not doing something, but rather we are one within it. That it is a part of us, that this dreaming that you're speaking of is a part of us, that we're walking in the reality of what already is, just exactly like what you're saying right then.
Stepping into your dreams, stepping into those visuals that you had of a future that you've created in an imagination state, stepping into those and then realizing that you're living in your dreams. That has happened all through my lifetime, even out of places of sometimes doubting whether I would ever be able to physically leave a location that we seem to be trapped in. But it seems like if you are able to keep dreaming, that you're able to move into that dream at some stage if you keep dreaming. Who told us that dreams don't come true? Who told you that? Who told you to stop dreaming? Who told you that there's no point living in dream world?
Exactly. And the dreaming is not even showing us things that we're separate from. It's actually revealing to us that which is within. All of those things are responding to us. They're actually wanting to partner with us. The dreaming is listening to us. It's bringing forth what we desire within our hearts. It's this place of connection where we're coming into the fullness of what already is. It's attracted to you because of who you are.
I find it interesting that we constantly dream for something else. So even when you step into your new life that you've dreamt of in the past and you become grateful for it, and you are really thankful that your life that you dreamt of having is now your reality, it's also immediate that you start dreaming for the next thing.
Yeah.
And living in the desire to be in the next thing can be the distance that we call anxiety, the distance that we call doubt or hope, the distance between the new thing that we desire and right now often makes us wonder if we're ever going to get there into the new dream.
Exactly. Like you were saying the other day, we get to choose how close we are. You said we get to choose how close these things are to us. And I thought that was quite profound. We are not circumstances. Like you were saying, when annoyances are around us, they're attracted to us. We are the law of attraction. It's not separate from us. We have way, way, way more ability than we realize. And it's only because we've been told that we don't, that we don't.
So when you're sitting at a cafe drinking a coffee and a noisy bus pulls up, or the person at the table next to you is talking on their mobile phone, you know the new way that people talk on their phones, where they don't hold it to their ear, but they hold it out in front of them with the loudspeaker on, and they yell at the little microphone, and then the response from the other end, everybody gets to hear. That is only a distraction or an annoyance or a circumstance that you find to be something that you don't want in your life. It is there, like it is there, it's in the air, it's around you, it's in the atmosphere, but it is only annoying if you choose for it to be annoying.
Exactly, because we choose shalom.
Because everything is attracted to us, including annoyance. But you don't have to make it your focus. You don't have to make it the only part of the experience that you're choosing to focus on. When you're choosing to focus on the annoying circumstances that are around you, it ruins the whole event. But you get to choose, and you get to know that everything is attracted to you, including that, but also including the flavour of the coffee that you're drinking, the music that's in the atmosphere, the wonderful people that you're there with, the wonderful people that are in the rest of the place. Letting the annoyance of something that is also attracted to you spoil your time is completely your choice.
Yeah, we choose freedom. We attract freedom to us. We choose shalom. We absorb shalom. We drink shalom. We expel shalom. Everything wants to be a part of us. It's all attracted to us. Health, vitality, abundance, prosperity. Come on.
They're all attracted to us as well.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. The shining diamonds on the water.
We've been invited to some people's places in the not too distant future for conversation. Have you imagined at some stage in the past that we would get invitations to people's place just to talk?
Yeah, it's very exciting, and I think it's a beautiful new space that we're moving into where this is about encouraging you to be the fullness of you. And this isn't about teaching you what I have to tell you and that you would then think, oh, how wise I am, or take on board whatever it is that I am releasing and make that your new theology. But this is about expanding your capacity for the fullness of who you've been created to be. And we really believe this happens in conversation. This happens around the banqueting table. This happens in these spaces in our homes and in community that creates room for everyone to be heard. And that is really, really exciting to us. Instead of going to conferences and being the guest speaker and maybe teaching to a whole bunch of people, but never actually getting to hear from you, we're really looking forward to this new space of diving into intimate gatherings with people where we're getting to share immersive and expanding conversation in the realms of possibility. So reimagining a life together. It's going to be really fun.
Do you think that John Lennon, when he formed with the Beatles, with Paul and Ringo and George Harrison, do you think that at some stage, right in the very beginning in their garage, that they ever imagined that there would be a time in the future where they would be on aeroplanes flying to Australia and other parts of the world, performing a song that they've just had downloaded overnight and they've just started practicing? Do you think there was a time where they imagined that the whole world would know their name, that the whole world would know what they look like? Do you think that they ever constantly doubted that that was ever going to happen? I think that there's people like that that just believe and imagine that all things are possible and that that is how they happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do believe that at least one, if not all of them, did imagine that, because you've got to be that crazy. Like, I know what I can imagine for our lives, and it's huge. It's crazy. And I think that there is something that can bring the fullness of everything we hope for and dream for and imagine toward us. And that is creating the space for the frequency of the reality of those things to land. And yeah, like, it's just, this is the craziest, wildest thing sitting on this river today. There is just this big fat beam of sparkling diamonds on the water that just goes from this big patch on the other side of the river all the way across the river. And this is a really, really wide river here. This is hundreds and hundreds of meters wide. And it just goes all the way down to us. It's just like...
It's pointing directly at us.
It's just so wild. Because even when we were here the other day, there was a little piece on the other side and it slowly made its way across, but it wasn't like a big giant one that there is today. It was, yeah, this is just wild.
Imagine that all things are possible in the way that the word means all things. All things are possible. Just imagine in your meditation space, in your quiet time, in the time that you've set aside for you to actually just sit and process the all. Imagine that all meant all. Imagine that all didn't mean, oh yeah, but not that. That's where we choose to live. That's where we retune ourselves to live. It's not a place that we naturally find ourselves being at all times. I have to admit that that is the case. But it is a place that I can automatically switch back into at any time when I realise that I've fallen out of it. When I've fallen back down to earth and I've been sucked by gravity back into the daily grind of being trapped on the earth, I can flick the switch, and so can you, back into the reality of living on earth out of heaven.
Yeah. And I think when you live in that place of all things are possible and you're really believing for that, I think it also takes you into the place of the Neverland. And this week, I was reminded of that place that we've been so many times in our life, at those crossroads of decision where you are deciding what it is or where you're taking your family next, or what decisions you're making in your life next. What pathway are you going to follow as you move forward? And often for us, it has been into a space that we've gone, oh yes, like anything. We'll do anything, we'll go anywhere, oh, but not there. I'm never going over there. And as soon as we would say that never, and then we would realize, like months down the track, that where we would find ourselves in the Neverland, in that place that we thought we would never be. And whether that's geography, or whether that's just a heart space, or it's a place, of challenge, or it's a place where it's taking us higher into a space of unpacking different things about our life that we couldn't have if we'd stayed in a safe place. It's like really taking the limits off is meaning that anything can happen. Like anything can happen. And that's pretty wild.
Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, Kylie.
But be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, not as in you just don't have to do everything like it's always been done. But the world is not the only place that we're located. We're also in heaven at the same time as being here. We don't have to function just in worldly terms, because we actually exist in heaven, and heaven exists in us at all times as well.
Yeah.
So we're not limited to doing just what it is that the world tells us are our only options.
Exactly. And I think, I also want to reimagine what we refer to as heaven as just being a kingdom dimension, like a multi-dimension. It's a space in the cosmic realms. It's another space of reality that is not necessarily even anything what you might picture if you're picturing like heaven, if you're just picturing like some puffy white clouds and some angels hanging out and, some bliss with just good people that happen to get in and because they did all the right things on earth. But it's actually a whole nother dimension that we can operate in. It's the synchronicities of life. It's those things that happen. It's the deja vus. It's the things that you know that you can't prove. It's those things that are happening all around us in the unseen realms. It's this space that when we acknowledge that it's a part of who we are, that everything can unlock and that we can actually be living out of a whole new reality that is the fullness of what we're created for right here on the earth. And I think that's this whole another space where we are reimagining. It's like we're giving expanded language to the concepts that we've been unpacking over the last year and a half with Wildfire Tribe. But now we're wanting to go, okay, well, this is what we've known to be true, but let's reimagine.
Imagine that everything is attracted to you. Imagine that everything is attracted to you, including anger and frustration. And imagine that you get to choose whether or not those are a part of your life. Imagine that it's possible that you can let them just move past you, that there's a choice to be made, that you can imagine a life without anger and frustration and desire for something that seems unattainable. Imagine that you're already functioning in heavenly spaces right now. Imagine that that is true. Imagine that right now where you're sitting is actually where you desire to be, where you've always desired to be. It's annoying for people when you do a group discussion and you all close your eyes and dream of different places that you'd want to be if you had the choice to be there, the optimal dream that you have. It's annoying for the people around you when you open your eyes and you say, but I'm here right now, I'm already here, this is actually my desire, this is my imagination, this is the perfect place that I have always desired to be, right where I am right now.
I'm trying to think of some really great, amazing thing to say, but all I'm just feeling like is whacked.
What I do want to say before we go any further in our new podcast called ReImagine is I want to thank everybody that's been on the Wildfire Tribe journey with us, everybody that has supported and co-partnered with what it is that we've been doing. And people have been doing that in numerous different ways, but also via Patreon. And moving forward, Patreon is going to be attached to our ReImagine podcast as well. And we are reimagining that the people that are already a part of what we're doing is going to grow. We're extremely grateful that the reason why we are still doing the podcast, as well as some of the other things that we're doing, is because people have been along on the adventure with us of Wildfire Tribe, and we're reimagining that. We're stepping into an expanded space of reaching more people and having more people to have conversations with, more people to visit Kylie. We'll be able to actually go to other countries and visit people that desire for us to be there.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we're just so grateful and we just love you guys so much. Each and every one of your beautiful ears that are listening to this, where we are excited to hear your feedback about what you're thinking when it comes to the changes that we made, and just we'd love to hear your thoughts and we'd love to hear your feedback on any of the platforms that we are available. We'd love your comments and to just hear where are you in the world and how did you find us and what is it that you're reimagining for your future.
So the other day when we were at the river and we were in that ascended state of realizing that we're already in heaven at the same time as earth, and we were being shown the new blueprint for us moving forward of ReImagine. Remember when we got home and we realized that we'd got a heap of downloads from Washington.
Yeah. That was crazy. It was really, really crazy because obviously in this transitional period, you've probably noticed that we've had 2 weeks where we haven't put up a new podcast. And this will be our first launching back in with our new name. And so I'd gone on to see what happened for the day when we were sitting getting this download, and just during that hour, so we were over here between 2 and 3 p.m. and during that hour we had a whole bunch of downloads just from Washington in the USA.
So welcome to the podcast. If that is you, thank you for joining us. Thank you for finding us. If you're enjoying the content, share it please with other people that you know. That's how this thing works. If you're on Spotify, what do you do at the top of Spotify? You press follow or something like that, and then you get notified when it comes out. It's the same as YouTube. It's similar to all the different platforms. If you like, follow, subscribe, thumbs up, love, heart, all of that stuff, it really helps the algorithm to work for us, because it indeed works for us and we don't work for it.
Yeah, because the only thing that you can do in the 100-fold, which is the all in, it's the space of knowing that we are co-creators of our own reality. The only thing we can do in that space is nothing. And that is crazy because all of the striving in this dimensional reality can still not bring about the fullness of what we imagine or hope for. But seated in our place of rest and opening up the wonder and glory that is flowing from the multidimensional realms of the kingdom is what is going to bring us into the fullness of what already is. So we are excited to be embarking upon a whole new level of what that looks like. We're excited to take the limits off once again and to reimagine a whole new future with you and with one another on the earth. Excited, excited, excited.